Welcome to the Crossroads, where we honor the duality of life, embracing the darkness and loving the light. Together we'll explore spiritual philosophy, mythology, shamanic practices, witchcraft, and more. Join me as we journey through the mysteries of life, death, and everything in between. Before we begin, a quick disclaimer. This podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only and not professional advice. Please use your own discretion and enjoy the show. Hi, welcome to the Crossroads. My name is Angela Rajniganda. I'm the owner of Arcana Apothecary. So in today's episode, I want to talk about the term witch. It's a word that carries a lot of weight, both good and bad, and the definition of a witch can vary greatly depending on who you're talking to. And for some people, it can actually be very triggering. There are a lot of misconceptions and stereotypes around the word, so today I want to explore the question, what is a witch? To understand what a witch is, we have to look at the history behind the word. Witches have been perceived in wildly different ways throughout history. In ancient times, those who practiced herbalism or healings or divination were seen as wise and powerful. But during the rise of Christianity and patriarchal structures, these same practices became dangerous to take part in. The witches' trials that spread through Europe and America in the 15th and 18th centuries were a brutal attempt to control and silence women or anyone perceived as a threat to religious and political authority. Over time, the idea of a witch became distorted, associated with devil worship, curses, and evil doings. The media and pulp culture also painted them as villains in films and productions. And if we fast forward to today or more recent years, especially in the 90s and the early 2000s, witchcraft had a major revival in movies like The Craft or Practical Magic, even Harry Potter. And the rise of social media has created an entire witch community online. You'll find witches on TikTok sharing spell work and rituals, and spiritual influencers teaching about energy and manifestation. Witchcraft has become this symbol of empowerment, especially for women. So let's talk today about what exactly is a witch. In my opinion, a witch is simply someone who intentionally works with energy. Witchcraft isn't about supernatural powers. It's about directing energy with purpose, with intention. Performing rituals or practices, that's energy work. A witch is someone who consciously engages with that energy to create. Witches, shamans, energy healers, psychics. To me, these are all just different terms, different paths of energy work. We all work with energy all the time, whether we realize it or not, but a witch does it consciously with intention. And I'll be honest, I didn't always feel comfortable calling myself a witch. The word felt so loaded or dramatic or even kind of cheesy. For a long time, I just called myself a healer. But that didn't fully, accurately express what I do, because I can do a whole lot more than just heal. So embracing the word witch for me was a reclaiming of power, and it was about fully stepping into who and what I am. And just to clear up a common misunderstanding, that witchcraft and Wicca are not the same thing. Witchcraft is a spiritual practice and is about working with energy, nature, and your intention. Where Wicca, on the other hand, is an actual religion that incorporates witchcraft, but it follows a very specific set of beliefs, rules, and traditions. Witchcraft, on the other hand, is much more personal and flexible as a practice. There are no set rules, no set beliefs, and there's no one way to be a witch. Different witches follow different paths. So let's talk a little bit about some of these different paths that a witch might take. So to start, we'll talk about solitary witches versus coven witches. Solitary witches are those who prefer to practice alone, keeping their practice very private and personal, while coven witches like to commit and work in a group. Traditionally a group of 13, but that can vary. Just a note on covens. While I have no personal issue with covens, I do have a few words of caution. I've heard horror stories come from people involved in covens. First off, you really need to make sure you trust those that you're practicing with. Know the intent of every individual in that circle and everyone involved. People can very easily be taken advantage of in groups like this, and control issues within covens can really taint the work that you do together and even put some people in danger. There's also something about working in a group with people of all different skill levels. While it sounds nice to work with all different skill levels where you can learn from one another and grow together, that's the ideal. But unfortunately, what I hear a lot of is, and it kind of sounds mean to say, but a lot of the lower level, lower skilled, or less experienced practitioners kind of dragging the group down a little bit in terms of kind of unintentionally tainting or interfering with the work, or kind of the opposite, where I'll hear about the more experienced practitioners in the group taking control and kind of taking advantage of the less experienced. These types of groups, unfortunately, are targets for covert narcissistic abusers. They love spiritual groups like covens because they can very easily prey on well-intentioned but naive members. And again, I personally have no issue with covens. It's just, I want people to be smart about it. Make sure you really know who you're working with. Make sure you can really, really trust everyone involved and that you know them well. But aside from choosing whether to work alone or in a group, witches can follow very different paths based on their focus and their practices. So we'll talk a little bit about a few of the different types of witches. And honestly, there's probably hundreds. So we're just going to focus on a few here. To start, I have the fire witch. Fire witches work with fire energy, which is great for very transformative and passionate work. The practices may include candle magic, bonfires, or fire scrying. Sea witches. Sea witches draw power from water, including oceans, rivers, lakes, streams, any water really. They work with the fluid, cleansing energy of water, which is great for emotional healing, intuition, and flow. And we have kitchen witches. Kitchen witches work in the kitchen. They use cooking, baking, and food preparation as a form of magic. Many focus on preserving food, creating healing recipes, and infusing meals with intention. Hearth witches. Hearth witches focus on the home and the family. They create a very peaceful and sacred space for the family. Their practices often center around the home, including blessing of the hearth and working with very domestic energy. And this could be also cooking, but cleaning and just creating that safe, sacred space. Green witches. Green witches work closely with plants, herbs, and nature. They use natural remedies, they like to forage, and use plant magic for healing and spell work. The hedge witch. The hedge witch specializes in spirit communication and journeying between realms, between worlds. Often they work in trance states like shamanic journeying or astral travel, connecting with the spirit realm. And the shadow witch. Shadow witches work with the darker energies. This does not mean black magic or evil, but darker energies and shadow work. They focus a lot on personal transformation and exploring the hidden aspects of the self and healing through understanding the darkness. And that's just a few, and you could be a combination of many different types. Never feel the need to restrict yourself to just one or even a few of these labels. Don't ever try to restrict yourself by labels. I definitely don't. I don't really feel the need to label what kind of witch I am or a spiritual practitioner. But if you really wanted to throw a label onto me, you could probably call me mainly a hedge witch, mainly a shadow witch, also a fire witch, and a hearth witch. But I'm also a shaman, a healer, a psychic, and honestly, the labels are endless. So I personally just don't use them all that much. I just kind of do what I do. Witchcraft it can also be greatly shaped by culture. Your culture background, your traditions, such as like Celtic magic, hoodoo, voodoo, and root work, Norse magic, Egyptian magic, and that's endless as well. Every culture has their form of this type of spiritual work. And many people do like to claim cultural appropriation if you dare to practice outside your own culture. But I personally don't believe that one bit. I think our souls are so vast and so endless that if you feel a draw to a specific practice or culture, you likely have a soul connection there, maybe a past life connection there. To me, there's no right or wrong way to practice as long as it's done with respect. For me, being a witch means embracing my entire being, honoring my physical, emotional, energetic, and spiritual sides, living in alignment with nature and trusting my intuition, flowing with the cycles of the earth and the moon, and setting intentions and working with purpose, working with the natural flow of energy to create the life that I want for myself. Witchcraft is so deeply personal. It's not about doing it right or following a certain set of rules. It's about connecting with your own power and working with the energies around you in a way that feels right for you. So if you feel drawn to the path of the witch, trust that pull. Explore the different practices, the different paths you can take there, and find what works best for you. And that's all I have to say today. Thank you so much for joining me. Let me know in the comments what being a witch means to you, or what path you feel most drawn to. And I'll see you next time. Thank you for joining me at The Crossroads, which is brought to you by Arcana Apothecary. Visit me at arcanaapothecary.com and connect on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so we can continue this journey together. Remember, there's a time for love and light, and there's a time for raising hell. Until next time, I'll meet you at The Crossroads.